Hello everyone, today we are starting a new unit on polynomial functions. So we're going to talk about what a polynomial is and the characteristics, and then we're going to add and subtract polynomials. So looking at a polynomial, this looks a little complex, but a polynomial will look something of the form of this. Just know that all of these a's are coefficients, and they're going to be coefficients on x terms. So you could have something like 3x squared plus 2x minus 5, and that's what our polynomial is going to be. So everything below just means that all the exponents are whole numbers and the coefficients are real numbers. And so a sub n we will call the leading coefficient, and a sub 0 is the last term, or the term without an x, and because that would be classified as x to the 0, which is just 1. And so that would be the constant term. And then we want to put it in standard form when it is in descending order. So we go from the highest degree and then we go down by 1, or whichever the next highest exponent is. We can classify these by the degree, so the degree is the highest exponent. So if a degree is of 0, we can call it a constant. Degree of 1 is a linear. Degree of 2 is quadratic. 3 is cubic. 4 is quartic. And 5 is quintic. That is all we're going to need to know for this unit. They do continue to go up past 5 though. Classifying by number of terms. So we talk about these specific in 1, 2, and 3 terms. So if polynomial of 1 term we call a monomial. Polynomial of 2 terms we call a binomial. 3 terms a trinomial. And then anything above that we're going to call it a polynomial. So if you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 terms, we will call that a polynomial. Mathematicians just got kind of lazy. We specifically talk about monomial, binomial, and trinomial just because they have some characteristics that we study quite a bit. So if we are adding and subtracting, we are essentially just combining like terms. So we might have to do some distributing with negatives, but we are going to essentially combine like terms, and variables that are like terms are ones that are variables with exponents of the same degree. So there's a few different ways to approach these, but I think the easiest route is usually to rewrite the first one in standard form, which this one is already in standard form. So we're just going to keep this as 3x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd plus 5x squared. And then since we're adding, we're just going to rewrite these in the correct vertical kind of column where they're supposed to line up. So we're going to go 9x to the 3rd is going to be plus 9x to the 3rd here, because the x to the thirds are like terms. And then we can say plus 7x squared here, and then we can have minus 2x, which would be over here because there's no x term in the first one. And then we can add vertically, and this will work for as many polynomials as you have. So we can add vertically to say 3x to the 4th. These two are going to combine to be 7x to the 3rd. These two are going to combine to be 12x squared minus 2x. Okay, and we're in standard form just by the design of what we just did. And so that will be our final answer there. And just for practicing classifying polynomials based on what we just talked about, this would be a 4th degree, so we would call this a quartic. And we would combine it into say that it's a quartic polynomial, because it has 4 terms. Looking at the next one, we are going to subtract. So we are going to distribute the negative. So we can still do the same thing, but we're going to distribute the negative first, or that's how I approach it. And then now it's a combining like terms problem. So we're going to rewrite the first one in standard form, which it already is. And then we're going to put these in the vertical columns along with where it's supposed to go. So the positive x there, minus 7. We can add vertically to be x squared minus 2x minus 6. And you don't have to put it in this vertical column. You could have just combined like terms from the start, but I feel like this offers many students the ability to reduce errors of combining terms that are not the same or forgetting a term when going through each one of these. So classifying this would be a quadratic because it's 2nd degree, and it would be a trinomial. Because it has 3 terms. Moving on to the next one, we have another addition problem. So just a few more terms. I'm sorry, we have a subtraction problem. So I always like to rewrite this. So we're going to distribute this to be minus x to the third minus x squared plus 18x. You don't have to take that step, but I think it's just a little bit easier to keep things organized first. So we're going to rewrite this first one in standard form. So we're going to say x to the third minus 8x squared, making sure that the minus stays with the 8x squared, plus x minus 1. And then we're going to rewrite the second polynomial in the proper vertical column. So we're going to say minus x to the third minus x squared plus 18x. And then we can combine these vertically. These two are going to become 0x to the third, and 0x to the third is just going to be 0, so they're going to reduce to 0, or cancel is another word to say. Then we have minus 8x squared and minus x squared, so we're going to get minus 9x squared. 18x and x will combine to be 19x minus 1. So from there we would end up with that as our final answer, and that is a quadratic, because it is second degree, trinomial. Lastly, we are going to have multiple polynomials, adding and subtracting. And so what we would do is similar kind of pattern, is that I'm going to distribute the negative on the middle term, the middle polynomial. So we're going to say that this is going to become minus x to the fourth minus 5x to the third plus 3x squared minus x. And I feel like that step will just help to reduce some errors as we progress through. So if we're rewriting the first one in standard form, we would say x squared, and since we're in the combining part, we're going to leave a space for x because there is no x term in that, and we're going to say minus 5. On the second one, we have an x to the fourth as our highest degree, so we're going to say minus x to the fourth. We have minus 5x to the third plus 3x squared, and minus x is going to go in this space. The last one we just want to write in standard form and filling in the places, so 5x to the third, positive x, and positive 2. And here we can combine like terms now vertically, so we get negative x to the fourth. These two are going to be 0x to the third, or they're going to reduce to 0 or cancel out. Then we're going to say plus 4x squared. These x and negative x are going to add to 0 or cancel out, and then we get minus 3. And so we are left with that in standard form. And this would be a quartic trinomial. So I hope this helps you in reviewing some polynomials as well as adding and subtracting polynomials.